Good morning, everybody on LinkedIn. It is once again hashtag Monday Morning with Micah, and I appreciate all those that have been watching so far and getting inspired during these unprecedented times that we're still dealing with, and just wanted to put together a little fun video that's a segment of some encouragement, some words of wisdom, some different perspectives that people have been able to share in regards to police and the movement of Black Lives Matter. And then we had, a couple weeks ago, we had another lady on the call that was dealing with unemployment and how to handle that process during these challenging times, and still being a motivator to help others during these times. So little informative discussions and just trying to bring some light in these, again, dark times. So today I am honored and humbled to have a very, 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 very good friend of mine, Rick Jackson, on the line, and he has been a staple in my career ever since I started in healthcare a little over 10 years ago now. And he has been, this segment's going to be about mentorship, and that is exactly what Rick Jackson is to me. And he, again, has been a staple in my life, in the industry that I've chosen to be in. He has been somebody that I've always been able to lean on and to just bounce ideas off of and get encouragement to keep me going in healthcare, because as we all know, healthcare changes every hour, it seems like. So Rick Jackson is here. How you doing, Rick?
I'm very good, Micah, and I'm very honored you would have me on. And I have thoroughly enjoyed the relationship you and I have had over the past 10 years.
It has been great in all aspects of the word. So so Rick, we're going to start off with we have a few questions we're going to ask you, because everybody's time is precious these days, and it is Monday. So what better way than to hear a little bit about you and your journey in healthcare and in the industry?
Yeah, Micah, it was great you asked me the question, because it gave me a chance to look back and remember the journey. So thank you for asking. So, I think I realized in graduate school when I was at Old Dominion that I wanted an opportunity to lead a small to a medium-sized agency, maybe perhaps several agencies, in the delivery of health care to a vulnerable population. And in my case, in your case, that vulnerable population is obviously older adults.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope was that by leading those agencies and delivering that care, we would relieve suffering. I always talk about at the very base of everything that we do in healthcare, it's to relieve suffering. And that as we relieve suffering, we also help them, improve the overall quality of their lives. And for older adults, that obviously means independence and self-determination and aging in place are the phrases we like to use. And that by doing that work for that vulnerable population, our work would in fact have meaning, have impact. And Micah, you and I talk about this a lot because we are both people of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So as I thought about that mission, if you will, I realized that being a person of faith, that having a chance to do that would allow me to extend my own values into my own small corner of the world where I work and make a difference, have meaning, make an impact in people's lives. And as we often use the phrase, we get to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Yep. Agreed.
The other thing, Micah, that when I've spoken to you and I've spoken to other people that I've had a chance to be in a mentor role, I often say, you're very lucky in this world if you get to exercise your passion in your job or your career. Not all of us are so fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us want it, aren't so fortunate. But if you are that fortunate, guess what? Then your job is not just a job. It really is a mission with a much larger meaning for you and meaning in the world. And, you know, you get up every morning and look forward to going in with your colleagues and people that you respect and do this thing that's going to bring healing and relief of suffering and just make a large impact. And so that's how I saw my career from the earliest of days. And honestly, Micah, guided every decision I've made about where I wanted to work for the past 25 years.
Yeah, that has something to say, because of your drive and your passion and your heart, and you know the why you are doing this. You know that, and that speaks volumes, and that gives you the edge that a lot of people, like you said, the ability to do what you do in the field that you're in and still have that passion to drive. But a lot of people are looking for and are still looking for, and they don't know how to get there. So
yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. Especially those of us in healthcare are drawn to the notion that meaning and purpose and impact and passion. And so what I would say to everybody is, don't give up on that. Mm-hmm. You know, you might not feel as if you're there now, but opportunities, even this crazy world that we're in right now, opportunities will arise. And if you remember your passion and remember your drive, you'll recognize them as they come into your life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, moving along with that, well, that's a good segue. So these are some of the good questions that we're getting to now. What has been your inspiration and your passion to work in such an ever-changing field of work? Like the industry of healthcare, it's always changing. Like it's never the same. It's always evolving. You know, how have you been able to stay inspired and keep your passion during the changing of the field of work?
Well, it's a great question, and it's relevant in everyone's life. And as I've always said to the people who worked with me and for me, it's easy to get mired in the details. Budgets, human relations, regulations and restrictions, HIPAA, you know, the details that we have to struggle with on a daily basis are ominous, and they are ever changing, Micah. And the time that I've been in healthcare, it changes almost on a daily basis. And so the minute you think you understand it and you've come close to knowing what to do with it, the world changes. So number one, you have to accept that it's going to change, and that you have to be ready and open to that change. If you hold on too tightly to the past, or too tightly to the way you've done it in the past, it's not going to work for you. But to answer your question, every now and then, maybe daily, maybe weekly, while you're mired in the details of all those things I said, you got to push yourself back from the desk. Yeah. Take a walk or do something where you can have some serenity and ask yourself, why did I get in this business to begin with? Why am I here? What brought me here? What's the overarching large goal? And just remind yourself of why you're there. And I can't tell you how important that is, because if you don't do that, you're going to lose the vision. You're going to lose the passion. You're going to get bogged down in the detail. You may become resentful and drained, depressed, because these things can be overwhelming. So once a day or whatever meets your timetable, push yourself back from the desk and say, why did I get into this to begin with? And by the way, surround yourself with people who are asking the same questions. You know, you want to be surrounded by those people who share that value with you.
Agreed. And I appreciate your mentality with that, Rick, because I know like just before you came up with that, surround yourself with other people that have the same focus and the same vision. You know, you started off with a statement that I feel like a lot of us get stuck on, and it's the phrase, quote unquote, "This is the way we've always done it" mentality.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a phrase that'll bring you down. That'll constantly keep you wondering, why am I not succeeding or accelerating like everybody else? It's because you're stuck on that mindset of, this is the way we've always done it. And if that's the way you've always done it, you know, it's a hard nut to crack and to kind of be molded and shaped into something different. But you have to lose that mentality, essentially.
You really do, because the way we pay for health care, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the way we measure success and outcomes, you know, the wonderful technologies, the advancement in technologies and durable equipment and pharmaceuticals and counseling techniques, they change on a daily basis. And by the way, they should. They ought to.
Yeah.
We have to think about improvement. And even though some tradition is fine,
Mm-hmm.
and you ought to honor it, it can't be just about tradition. You cannot close your mind off to where we can go as a healthcare delivery system.
Very true. Man, such words of wisdom there, sir. Such words of wisdom.
Thank you.
The next question is, you know, we're talking about, you know, mentorship and how important it is. So tell us how, you know, how important do you feel it is to have a mentor in healthcare or in any industry? Like, how important do you feel it is to have one?
Well, Micah, it's extremely important. It's so important, I struggle to even put an adjective on it. So I'll try to describe it this way. You know, in all of our careers and jobs, we go to great lengths to prepare ourselves for our career.
Mm-hmm.
High school, college, graduate school. We look for opportunities to become professionally certified and credentialed.
Yeah.
These are all very important and necessary. In some instances, we cannot be in our career without those credentials and certifications.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're obviously very, very important, and you must do them. Having said that, you know, while you're gaining that academic and professional credential, while they prepare you academically for what it is you want to do, they often are not rich with the lessons of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you gain from a relationship with a mentor is the notion of learning from their experience, being guided through your own experiences. Just to give you an example, you know, many times mentors that you choose are going to have 10, 15, 20 years of experience in a field that you're already in, or maybe a field that you envision that you're going to move to.
Correct.
So by the way, it doesn't have to be a mentor doing what you do. It could be that you have other thoughts, other goals for yourself. And so as those thoughts and goals become more crystallized, you could look for mentors in that area that you want to move to. And Micah, you've done that in our relationship over the past 10 years. You've been in one spot and envisioned another for yourself. And you and I have talked about that at great length. And so I hope that's been helpful.
It's been,
the other thing I say about mentorship is, you know, even though academics and credentials are important, and I had to go through that as well, experience really is our greatest teacher, because we celebrate our successes and we learn from our failures. You know, we are going to fail. It's a human condition. no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you are. Yeah. So I like to remind people that Abraham Lincoln lost the first 13 elections he ran for before he became president. So we learn from our failures.
That is very true. Man, that's why I have you as a mentor, sir. And yes, you are correct. It's hard to put a profound adjective on the amount of value I have received from our relationship and your mentorship. It's just invaluable. There's no price tag you can put on that. There's no degree. There's no certificate that could share how beneficial your mentorship to me has been. There's because of your experience. I mean, that's like you said. It's the experience that you can't read on. You can't learn the experience. You can only hear it and learn from the mistakes of others.
Yes, and we all make them, and we have to own them, take responsibility for them, and suggest to others, learn like I learned from this mistake.
Correct, 100%. So, we're talking about mentorship, and we're talking about the benefits of it. Now comes the challenging sometimes question that people get, and it causes us to be vulnerable, because you have to be vulnerable to seek out somebody to say, I could use your help. And that's a sense of vulnerability. But vulnerability, let me just clarify for our listeners, vulnerability does not mean weakness. That does not mean you're weak. It does not mean you're a failure. It just means you're actually stronger in seeking the help that you need to succeed and to get better and to not make the same mistakes as others. So I'm just clarifying that with the listeners and the viewers that'll be watching this later. Seeking a mentor does not mean you're weak. You have to open up to say that you need a mentor. You need someone else to help you and keep you going. So
absolutely. Takes courage.
In regards to that, so how should one, and what's the best way to find a mentor, and what should people look for in a mentor?
Yeah, great question, Micah. You've obviously given this a lot of thought. So I think, there's a number of places to look. You can look in an organization where you are already employed, like you are with the wonderful Greg Garrett. Or you can look in a professional organization that you are associated with, like the Peninsula Agency on Aging, or Williamsburg Faith in Action, or the JCs, or the Chamber. So think about where you work. Think about professional organizations where you are already involved. Think about your church or your synagogue or your mosque. If you are a person of faith and you are aligned with a particular faith community, there's certainly opportunities there. So start with those. Academia, if you've recently finished a college or graduate school or a certification, you've met people in that field who may be a good mentor for you. But when you begin to look for the mentor, I think there's things you really do need to look for. And the first thing I'm going to suggest is integrity, that someone is authentic, is honest,
Agreed.
forthright in their dealings with their peers, with you, and with the world. Someone who's been very successful in their path, because you obviously want to learn from that. You want to emulate it. You want to figure out how they made those decisions that led them from one opportunity to the next. You want to look for mentors who are well connected.
That's correct.
That they're well respected, because part of what they're going to do, other than share knowledge and experience, is networking. So as you're meeting with them and learning from them, and your mentor sees a direction you may want to go, that mentor is going to go, hey, I think you should talk to Bob or Joan or Billy or this other friend of mine who might have not only some advice for you, but an opportunity for a career or a path. And then the last thing, obviously, Micah, is willing. Are they willing?
Yeah.
Because it takes an investment of time, as you know.
Yeah.
You need to set aside an hour or two once a month or whatever you can agree on, with your mentor about you're going to have lunch or breakfast or meet in the office, and that mentor has got to be willing and able to invest time, energy in you and your path. Yeah.
Wow. That is, so for our listeners, that's about the best you can get in finding a mentor. And the integrity, that is a big thing. Time is a very, very big thing. And honest and trustworthy and connected. I mean, those are all very, very valuable things that you do want in a mentor. And that's kind of the relationship that I've been able to gain with Rick. His willingness to share and to be there. And we are now working on our second meeting. So we are doing for those of you that may not know, Rick is also just recently retired. So he is a veteran, a true veteran in the healthcare industry, and he has served it well and has also gotten some accomplishments as well through his time there. And he's still not done. We're not letting him go with some of the nonprofits we're working on. So and on the board with. So he's still very much active in the community and still trying to be that voice, that mentor to me and to others most likely. So before we close, Rick, I want to make sure that I always like to end with some positive words. So what are some words of encouragement or words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers? Like what is some words that you could give to them to know that, yes, it's difficult, it's important to have a mentor, but here's some lasting words to end with.
So I thought a lot about this answer to this question, Micah. And so, we're living in a very difficult and tumultuous time in our nation's history, and it's honestly nothing like I've ever experienced before, and I've been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what they are. It's the COVID pandemic. It's unemployment and a stagnating economy. It's social unrest related to social injustice. It's
correct.
A bitter and divided country. These things are all serious and depressing. But here's what I would say to you that I think is positive, and I'm going to offer them as a word of wisdom. So I think we have to ask ourselves the question, in the face of all that, what do I do in my own little corner of the world to be of assistance? And here's my answer: that we work for justice as you see justice, that we pray for healing, for COVID, for our economy. We ask ourselves, how do I be a part of the solution, not the problem?
Mm.
We honor and respect all of those frontline essential persons, not just medical staff,
mm-hmm.
but police, firemen, delivery drivers, folks in the grocery store and the pharmacy. We honor and respect those frontline essential people. We ask ourselves the questions about delaying or reducing the spread of this disease. And maybe last and maybe the most important, Micah, is, and I think I can say this without being political or partisan, we are a greatly divided country now, more so than any time in my life. And so I would say that we, as Americans and people of faith, ask ourselves this: can we begin to consider again what we have in common, what draws us together, and not focus on our differences? Because if we're going to succeed at tackling these things that I just went through, being a house divided is going to make that a very difficult task and diminish our chances of success. So I think we have to find a way to rally around what we have in common, and why we love our country, and why we love each other, and why we still live in the greatest country on earth. And so those are the challenges and words I would have for us today.
Thank you, Rick. My goodness, that's some powerful words, sir. And that's something that
Thank
we
you.
can all choose to move and strive for and be better at on a daily basis. It's waking up and not going, how can I divide? It's how can I resolve and be a solution maker and not a problem, not a problem maker. So,
yes. At the end of the day, we have to ask that essential question.
Yeah.
Am I solution focused? Am I part of the solution? Am I doing whatever I can with my God-given talents? Or am I part of the problem? And I know that sounds simple, but I think right now we all have to struggle with that internal question.
It's easier said than done, as the phrase goes.
Yes. Yes.
But my goodness, does it feel great when you succeed at your actions in doing so. So.
Yes.
Man, Rick, this has been amazing. I do appreciate your time. So for those that are listening and viewing, Rick Jackson is on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to him. He has opened up his private message box and his comments and acceptance to assist you in finding your mentor or even being your mentor. Just be careful because his time is limited because he is just recently retired, so he's trying to get an idea of what that looks like. So don't overwhelm him too much with questions, but do reach out to him and at least connect with him. So I do appreciate Rick Jackson coming on and sharing some time with us on hashtag Monday Morning with Micah. This is a great segment. It's great to be open and vulnerable, not weak, but vulnerable during these times, because vulnerability is strength coming out. So I do appreciate, Rick, for your time. I thank you so much for our relationship and your mentorship and continued mentorship with me. So I do appreciate that, Rick.
It is my pleasure, sir.
Well, to all of you, till next time, I will see you all soon, and stay safe out there, stay sane, stay healthy, and most of all, stay connected. And I hope this gets you through today, if not the week. Until next time, enjoy.